there's a time to give the harsh reality.
Yeah.
And there's a time not to, right? Like you have to pick the timing.
Yeah.
And then it has to be done like tactfully, meaning you have to really explain it. You can't just explain what happened. You have to explain why it happened.
Right.
Welcome to the Fuel Hunt Show.
What's going on, Eagles? Welcome to the Fuel Hunt Show. I'm Joey. Today I'm joined by one of the few, again, by Oscar.
What's up?
So we just filmed. So this is, by the way, this is Oscar from the Headquartered podcast. We just filmed a 2-part episode together that was amazing. I had a great time with kicking it with you. And after we stepped off, we talked about an episode of his show that he recently released, where you read a poem, a very specific poem, right? Mm-hmm. And you first heard that poem on, I believe, the Daily Dad podcast.
Right, that's right.
But you read it on your show, and then you kind of did like a live reaction to it. Like, this is how I feel about it. And then you asked your community members to do the same, like read the poem. Then you also, once you released the show, you texted me and you said, I really want your thoughts on this poem, And I read it, and my immediate reaction was, I need to sit with this for a minute.
Yep.
Like, I just need to sit with this. And you kind of felt the same way, it seemed, when you first heard it or read it.
Before I put it onto the podcast, it was about a week and a half before I just kept bugging me.
Yeah.
The words kept bugging me, and it wasn't a negative. Like, Maggie Smith did a great job on it because it felt like a really good thought exercise. I was like,
yes.
So because of that, it was just going around in my head.
Yep.
And I couldn't figure out how to explain it, and so I was like, well, I'll just read it, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
And then you'll riff on it, yeah. So we thought it was a good idea to read the poem today on the Fuel Hunt Show, because many of the few are parents. There's a lot of girl dads also in the community. We're going to read this poem, and then we're going to live react to it. I'll give you some of my thoughts. You'll give us some of your thoughts. Like, let's just see where we can take it. The reason that I think, off camera we were talking, the reason I think this is such a great idea, spur of the moment, is because of what you said. It is such a thought-provoking exercise for parents, but also for self, I think.
Yes.
It really is.
Especially right now. Like, in this current environment, I think that's why it really activated my brain. I was like, why can't I sit with this and just, like, let it go? Like, what is it?
Yeah, and a lot of times when I read, I love to write poetry, I love to read poetry, obviously I read books. A lot of times when I read things, I'm like, immediately, right from jump, my gut tells me, like, yes, this is my jam.
Right.
Or, no, like, get this out of here. This is not me. After I've read this, or after I listened to it on your show, then I went and I read it as well, I was like, in the middle.
In the middle, yep.
And I sat back and I thought about it, and I was like, wow, like, what a effective poem. Sounds like a weird word to use with poem, but so effective because it suspended my judgment and made me think deeper about myself and how I'm doing as a parent. So that's why I think it's a great idea to do this.
Yeah, and just to be clear, like, I am not a poet.
Yeah.
I
Not
read.
yet. You never know.
No.
You never know.
I have a few that I can't even, I haven't read in a while.
Yeah.
So this one Ryan Holiday just did a really good job at bringing this out.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it, and it just stuck in my head. Like, it literally felt like it was bouncing around in my head, and I could not figure out why.
Yeah.
And so I figured I'd put it on for the
I like a good haiku every once in a while. Like,
See, I don't
that's
even know
my
what that
thing.
is.
It's a short poem that follows a certain syllable pattern.
Okay.
Like 3 lines. It's like real easy Japanese poem.
I think my daughter told me that before.
Yeah,
She does
so
that.
I love good haiku. I wrote some haikus on my page. Didn't go over too well.
No?
So I guess I should just, like, stick in my zone of genius, which is like community stuff and the few. But all right, I'm going to read this poem. Again, this poem is called Good Bones by Maggie Smith. And if you want, we'll put a link to the poem in the show notes. But if you want to pull it up while you're listening to the show here or immediately after, you can find it at poetryfoundation.org. If you search Good Bones or Maggie Smith, you'll find it there. So let me read this verbatim, and then I'll turn it over to you, and you can give me some of your thoughts on it, since you've had some time now for it to rattle around in your brain, right?
It's still bothering me, especially after your text back. It's still bothering me.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. Life is short, though I keep this from my children. Life is short, and I've shortened mine in 1,000 delicious, ill-advised ways. 1,000 deliciously ill-advised ways I'll keep from my children. The world is at least 50% terrible, and that's a conservative estimate, though I will keep this from my children. For every bird, there is a stone thrown at a bird. For every loved child, a child broken, bagged, and sunk in a lake. Life is short, and the world is at least half terrible. And for every kind stranger, there is one who would break you, though I keep this from my children. I am trying to sell them the world. Any decent realtor walking you through a real shithole chirps about good bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful. So that's the poem, man. And
That's the poem.
I feel like there's, it just takes me on a journey, dude. Like, there's moments where I'm like, I vehemently disagree with what you're saying. And then there's another moment where I'm like, okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Like, I can get behind this.
Yep.
And I think that's what had me kind of like, like a twisted addiction with it.
Yeah.
Which is why we're here on the show doing it. So what are your thoughts?
Even now you read it, and I'm like, my first reaction is like, no.
Yes.
No, absolutely not. My girls need to know the realities that they're about to step into.
Yes.
Right? And then at the same time, as you keep reading, and it gets to like the realtor thing, right? It's like we experienced that in our last home, where we bought the home sight unseen.
Yeah.
We saw it through whatever
Zillow.
Through FaceTime or whatever, right?
Oh, FaceTime. Okay, I got you. Yeah.
But dude, as soon as I walked in, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
You're like, the FaceTime camera didn't pick this up.
Nope, not at all, right?
Yeah.
And sure, it had good bones, but man, we had to work at it, right?
Yeah.
And it was difficult.
Doesn't everything though, man? Like
But that's the thing. Here's the thing. Here is why this is bothering me. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. You turn on the news right now, and I think, just to be clear again, I listened to this through Ryan Holiday's Daily Dad podcast, and she was on there, and she was talking about that. She's like, 50% is like, I mean, sometimes you're looking at 80, 90%. It feels like the world is falling apart.
I'm on news diet, haven't watched the news for many, many years now.
Right.
And it's because, like, one of the things that frustrated me the most was it was 98% death and destruction. And then at the end, there was 2% of the show left. They squeezed it in right before the program had to end.
Yeah.
Where they would tell you some positive story.
Maybe.
And I'm like, that's not my worldview.
No.
I'm not saying it's not the reality of the world, but it's not personally my worldview. So I had to ditch it. So she brought that up on the show.
Yeah, she mentioned that. And here's the deal, like, it's like social media, right? What do you see on social media? Most of the time, you see the highlight reel.
Yeah.
Right? No one really shows you the negative side of entrepreneurship. No one really shows you the negative side of maybe a bad relationship. It's all the pictures that, everybody wants to see.
Yep.
You look at the news, they're just giving you all the crap.
Yeah.
And it's weird because when I look at my girls, I'm like, there's so much good.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that I truly believe all these things and that there's no hope, because if that's the case, then I'm a cynical parent and I'm raising cynical children.
Yeah, dangerous.
And then what are they doing?
Yeah.
So that's why, like, initially when it comes up, you almost want to say, yeah, I probably should keep that from my children because it's rough and I don't want them to think that it's a bad world out there.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah.
And that's where it got me thinking, like, she's a parent. Mm-hmm. She's a mom. I talked to my wife about this. Like, what do you
how
think?
do you feel? Yeah.
Well, you don't want to give them all the. I'm like, maybe that's my role. Maybe that, as a dad, I'm a representative of the world.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because if I don't, who's going to give it to them if I'm not giving it to them?
Yeah. No, it's true.
Right?
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I think I struggle with it. Like, I think my text back to you when you texted me initially, number one, I was like, I need to sit with this.
Yep.
Number two, I think I did text you back and be like, look, like, I think it's like a timing and like a tact thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's about timing and tact. Like, there's a time to give the harsh reality.
Yeah.
And there's a time not to, right? Like, you have to pick the timing.
Yeah.
And then it has to be done like tactfully, meaning you have to really explain it. You can't just explain what happened. You have to explain why it happened.
Right.
And even if that why is like, hey, look, we got to go back, 80 years. And this is the way the world used to be.
Right.
And we are still figuring out how to not do the world that way. You know what I mean?
No.
So for me, it was like a timing and attack thing. But the thing that triggered me over and over again in the poem is, I will keep this for my children. Like, that triggered me.
Me too.
It freaking triggered me, bro. Like, I would tell you straight up, it triggered me. But then when I thought about it, I was like, man, like, there are some things, like, there are some brutal realities that I've kept from them, but I've given them the reality. I just dropped the brutal part.
Right. Maybe because they're not ready for the brutal part yet.
That's where, like, the timing and the tact comes in. Like, I'm trying to tactfully give them the reality at the right time, but that's a fine line, because you do it too late, big mistake. You know what I mean?
To your point too, like, when I got that text back, I did re-question my initial reaction, because I put my reaction on the podcast, and then I listened to it. I'm like, well, let's keep it real here. Like, I'm not going to my 4-year-old and be like, the world's gonna kill you. Like, that's not what I'm doing, right? Now my 13-year-old and even my 9-year-old, like, parents do this all the time. There's no such thing as monsters.
Yeah.
And I stopped doing that because I'm like, well, there's no monsters in this house.
Yeah.
But there's
monsters
monsters
outside. Yeah,
right?
There's monsters outside. Yeah.
And again, I don't do that to my 4-year-old, because that would be a mistake, because that's
timing
a literal
tact.
right,
Yeah,
a little
timing
thing.
tact.
So I did take it back and rethink through that once you and I connected. But initially, the same thing. It's like, what do you mean you keep it from your children? Mm-hmm. Like, because it feels to me that lately that's what's happening when we have kids that can't handle certain things.
Yes, of course. That's the problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not just the brutal realities of the world, but it's also like some of the harsh realities of just daily life. Like, things aren't always comfortable. Things aren't always handed to you. Like, those are things you cannot keep from your children.
Right.
You are literally disarming your children. Your children, when they arrive at the point in their life, their career, their relationships, whatever, where they have to do something hard, they're ill-equipped in that moment.
Exactly.
Because they're sheltered.
And
They're coddled and all that other stuff. So, man, I have a formative memory from when I was a kid, and one of my friends, so I grew up in Philly, right? And behind our row homes, there was like a driveway, right? And you could, drive behind the homes and then pull in. Like, some of the homes had garages beneath the house or whatever. And one of my formative memories as a kid, I was in second grade, so I was maybe I was 7. We were playing in the driveway behind our homes, and one of my friends got kidnapped.
Okay.
Right? Car pulls up, black Grand Marquis, one of those big boat ones, from back in the day. A guy gets out and snatches one of the kids from my block, puts him in the car, drives away. Formative memory, dude. Like, I remember it. I know what I was doing. I know where I was sitting.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Now, it ended up being like a some type of like custody dispute, but the kid still got snatched.
Yeah,
right.
That's what you watched. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that replays in my mind anytime I'm on the street with my girls. Yeah. Okay. So I had to tell my girls about that. Like, I had to tell my girls, we live in the city, like center city. You know what I'm saying? So, like, there are a mix of good people and not so great people on the street at any given time,
right.
At any given day, any month of the year, whatever. So like I had to communicate that to my daughters, you know. I did not do that when my oldest daughter was 3 or 4.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But as soon as I knew the timing was right, and as soon as I knew she was spending enough time outside on the street, and she was able to like make her way around on her scooter within, you know, line of sight of me or whatever, she needed to know. And that was like a weird conversation to tell her, like, hey, look, not everybody that you're going to see out here when you're playing is a good person.
Yeah.
You can't trust them, and they can harm you, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember sharing that with some of my friends at the time, and then being like, you're a psycho, bro. Like, what are you going to do next? You going to like arm her? And like, meanwhile, in my mind, I'm thinking like, what's wrong with a little butter knife?
If I could,
just give her a butter knife. But they were like, you're a psycho, bro. Like, why would you share that with your kid? And I'm like, I refuse to keep that from my child. Like, she needs to know. You know, some dude rolls up and has sweet tarts. You're nowhere near that fucking person, dude. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So like those are some of the things that like started to come up when I read this, and then I started thinking like, have I done enough to arm them? Right. You know what I mean? Yep. You know, arm's a strong word, but it's the same word I use for the community. Like, you know what I mean? You know, any successful community, a community that helps their community members grow, that community arms them with tools.
It is a slippery slope, right? Because you want to arm them with situational awareness. Yeah. But not make them fully paranoid of the world. Yep. And that's the struggle, at least with me, because I'm the same. Like, you have to understand that there is people out there that want to hurt you. Yep. Or that don't care if they hurt you or not. That's the difference, right? Yep. On that poem, talks about, you know, for every kid with a great life, there's a bunch that don't have that or that have been killed.
Exactly. She goes, and, you know, hat tip to her, much respect. Like, there was no mincing of words there. Right. You know what I mean? So, like, the irony or the juxtaposition in the poem of, I'll keep this for my children, but then being so brutally honest that, like, this kid was bagged and sunk in a lake, like, you know, genius.
It is, and it's because, in my opinion, it's because it is so brutal. Yeah. And it can be so brutal. Yeah. Yeah. And again, I don't know that I tell that to my 4-year-old daughter.
Yeah. Timing and tact. But, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. Yeah. But nothing should be kept.
But that also brings, and we talked about this before, but like understanding your situation compared to maybe others. Yeah. Right. And understanding that your home environment's different than other people's home environment. I mean, not to mention a third world country with, you know, war happening. Yeah. And what is that child going through and how's their life? So again, I refuse to hold that from my daughters because I want them to understand, one, how incredibly blessed and thankful they should be. Yes. But two, how what we do in our small sphere can also impact other people.
Yes. Yeah, that was the redeeming moment for me, really, at the poem, the end. Yeah. You know, where there's like hope. It was like a twisted ride of cynicism. Yeah. And then like hope. And that's what I think really, it like effed me up. I was like, man, I need to think about this a little bit.
Because your initial reaction is not that.
Yeah, no, the initial reaction is like, I'm not even going to finish reading this. Yep. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know?
Exactly right.
You know, and even in the beginning, it starts off with really like self-reflection. Like, hey, this is what I've done to myself, and I'm going to keep it for my kids.
Yeah, if you watched the video I posted, I made a video to the poem. Yeah. In that portion where it says I've done this
deliciously ill-advised. Yep. Yeah.
And it's some dude like clearly hungover.
Hungover.
Clearly hungover.
My mind goes to cheese fries.
Well, that could be it too.
Like a whole mountain of them, dude.
Right, but he's clearly hungover, and then it goes kind of south from there. But again, even that aspect, I would have agreed with that. Probably year one of my daughter. Yeah. I'm like, I am not telling her the things I did. There's no way. And now as I'm seeing her as a 13-year-old in the neighborhood with her friends, and I'm like,
she needs to know.
let me tell you something.
yeah. She needs to know.
Let me tell you what that boy over there is thinking. Come here.
Exactly.
Right? Like, I'm going to tell you the realities, and then you have to make decisions because I can't be with you.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned it because of the poem, but it really made me come to a realization that I want to protect them.
Yeah.
But it's becoming less and less physically protect them. It's becoming more and more giving them the tools to protect themselves.
Yeah, I'm there, man.
And half of those tools is knowledge. Hey, you have to know that when you step out of this house, it's a different world.
Yes.
You have to know that when you step out of this town, it's a different world.
Yep.
Right?
Agreed, 1,000%. Applied knowledge. So, like, you know, knowledge is power. That's like one of the big sayings from like when we were kids,
right,
at least, right? I don't know if that's some Reading Rainbow shit or whatever.
Yeah, no, they would say
knowing is
half
the battle or something like that. Yeah, I get all that, but really the power is like applied knowledge, like being able to apply the knowledge that you have. And dude, you so well said that like when you first have kids, especially as a man, you're like, oh man, like I'm gonna die for my kids.
Yep.
Like I'll do anything, and I still will. But you quickly realize that you cannot be with them 24/7, 365. You will not, just the way the world works, the way the world's set up. You will not be here as long as they are, God willing. You'll go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before they do, and you need to give them that knowledge.
Yeah.
So that they can protect themselves.
If you remember Trevor's truth bomb, by age of 12, you spent 70% of your time with your child.
Wild, bro.
So I now have a 13-year-old, and I have to arm her with her own knowledge because there's no way. There's no way to be with her.
I made that switch a while ago. I don't even. This is funny because it's like one of those things that gets talked about in social circles, and it's a funny thing, and you see it in movies and stuff. Like when you have daughters, you know, when the boyfriend comes over for the first time, like you want to be the most like physically opposing father as possible, and you've got a gun safe in your living room, and you've got like you know all the jokes and things. That doesn't even resonate with me anymore.
No,
it doesn't resonate with me anymore because I'm like, in my mind now, I'm thinking to myself like, bro, you don't have to be scared. I'm like second line. Like I'm second line. You don't have to be scared of me. You gotta be scared of my damn daughter.
Right. That's right.
That's who you need to be afraid of. Because she will make today a really bad day for you.
Yeah.
If things go sideways. You know, that's what I want.
Yes.
I don't want to be like, oh, well, bring him here so I can put the fear of God in him so he treats you right. I want him to know he will treat you right because you have standards, you know what I mean, and you will enforce those standards.
Right, exactly right.
You know?
I think I was watching, it was just a short video that I saw Tim Kennedy say that. It's like, if I'm worried about the guy that she's bringing home, at that very moment, I've already done my job incorrectly.
Man, that's such a good point. Dude.
Right?
I've never heard, I didn't hear him say that. That's such a good point.
Which is true because to your point, more and more I'm like, it's not really about me being physically fit.
Yeah. It's an ego-driven thing. And I know that's probably going to maybe hurt some feelings.
It is.
Because I'm not saying you shouldn't be the most physically capable, physically opposing father as you should be. There's literally evidence.
Yes.
Right? There's literally evidence that children are targeted if their parents or specifically their father is in, a weakened state or doesn't look like he can handle himself and all that stuff. So I'm not an advocate for not being the most physically opposing father you can be. However, that's like, to me now, secondary.
Yeah.
My daughter needs to be armed.
Yeah. And that's that mind change of, I wanted to be the warrior in a garden, not the gardener in a war. And now it's like, girl, I need you to be the warrior in the garden.
Yeah.
Not the gardener in a war. Like, I need you to be that because there's no way for me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll go guns hot real quick if I need to, but I won't be there, right? Yeah. And more and more, I'm in that same mindset. It's like, it's not really, I'm gonna still be that warrior in the garden, but I need to figure out how to.
You're second line, dude. You're second line
defense,
bro.
Absolutely.
You're second line, Yep.
I
mean, God willing, if there's a situation and you're there, then you're first line, but like for the majority of life, like, Trevor's stat, you're second line, bro.
Dude.
Second line.
It still reverberates in my head when you say that.
Yeah. One of the little games that we play now with both my daughters when we're out and about you talked about situational awareness earlier. We just like play a game of like, tell me the last 5 people that you remember and what they were wearing. Like we play that game.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, or, sometimes my oldest daughter now, she kind of likes it. So if we're sitting in the diner and we're eating or something, she'll be like, somebody just walked in and you didn't notice. Like she'll mess with me, you know what I mean? Yep. But we play like that little situational awareness game. And in the beginning, when I gave it to them, I didn't say it's because like somebody bad could walk in, but now my daughter knows.
Yeah.
So now I can explain to my daughter when we're walking around the city, when you come in close contact with somebody, whether you're just brushing by them or they're in line with you at the store or something, and you have that like feeling in your stomach when you see them, like listen to that reason.
Right.
Because like your intuition could be telling you something.
Yeah.
So like listen to that. You don't have to judge people. You don't have to be harsh about it, but you have to make space and be aware of where you are.
Yeah.
And if something was to go wrong, how to get out.
Create distance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's something that I think a lot of people think that probably I'm crazy for doing that with my kids. But again, as the poem here says, I'll keep from my, let's say, where was I? That's something that I'll keep from my children. I refuse to. I will not do it. Yeah. And that's why I got so triggered by that line. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's weird though. I have a friend who says there's a special place in hell for realtors and someone else. I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he had a bad run at a realtor. My wife is a realtor.
Okay. Okay.
But it's a weird thing though when it ends, because it says a realtor will talk to you about the good bones, understanding that it's a piece of shit house.
Yeah.
Right. And again, it's a little bit, maybe that also triggered me, because I'm like, that damn realtor. But at the same time, her job is to sell the house.
Yeah, and you know what the thing is? Like, when I read that, so any decent realtor walking you through a real shithole chirps on about good bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful. When I read that, it kind of brought it home for me. I see the good in everybody.
Yeah.
Literally everybody. I literally see the good in everybody. And it's a superpower for me, but it's also been a problem for me sometimes.
Right.
And this... When I read this, that came up for me. I actually took this in a positive way. And I was like, you know what? The realtor knows the reality, but the realtor knows with work, with hard work, that the place could be beautiful. Like, that's what I took from the end of that.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of like brought the poem home for me. And I was like, all right, I can kind of get behind this. But that's the way I saw it, at least.
For the right reason, yes.
Yeah.
Because a realtor can just be trying to make some money.
They could be. But I think that's the thing where I was like, that I'm just not cynic like that.
Yep.
And I also see the good in everybody. So I think everybody has good intentions until you kind of show me otherwise.
Right.
Type of thing. You know what I mean?
But that, for me, that brought home that I need to make sure I'm not cynical.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Because, again, I questioned that. Mm-hmm. When I read that poem and I listened to the poem, I was like, am I cynical? Because if I'm cynical, why did we even bring a child to the world?
Yeah, but I mean, from your perspective, you're telling the brutal reality, or you're telling the harsh reality, but you're also saying that like you can make it better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Like and that better starts at home.
Yeah.
And then that ripples.
Yep.
So like you're painting the full picture.
And that's what I want, right? It's just like it's what is within our control is what we can do to make it better.
Yeah. Yep.
Because that 80% or 50% bad in the world, at the moment, it's not within your control.
Yep.
But there is stuff within your control to make the house look better.
Yeah, that was another thing that just triggered me going through, the birds and the stones thrown at the birds. Yep. I was like, it's cool, whatever. But this whole 50% estimate the whole time, I was like, this is triggering me, man. Yeah. Because I personally believe that that's just not the case. I believe that there's evil, but I believe that evil it's a smaller percentage than that. Let's put it that way.
I agree.
I can't put my finger on it, but it's a smaller percentage than half bad.
Well, you can't put your finger on it because that's all they're showing us. That's it. Right? It's constantly out there. That's all you're seeing.
Yeah.
And even, again, politically, you're looking at like, no matter what side, if someone is doing good, as long as if they're not on your side, they're still finding bad to it, and then that's what they're showing you, and it's just constant back and forth.
Yeah.
And again, we try not to put the news on either, but you got to stay informed, and unfortunately, it seems that way, but no, I agree. I think if it ends in a positive thought of well, it's within your control to do what you can to make it better. And that's what I tell my girls. Like, no matter what you do in life, just make it better.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with Drew on the show. Maybe, this was, boy, we're probably almost 100 episodes in, maybe. Dane will keep me honest, but yeah, this was probably, I don't know, definitely first half, under 50 maybe. And I mentioned like positive realism, like that's kind of like my thing. I can't say that I'm like a positive thinker. I can't say that I'm like overwhelmingly like a positive person.
You're not a full optimist?
I'm not, dude. I'm just a optimistic realist. Does that even make sense? Like, I like to understand the facts on the ground and the way it is, and then I make sure that I just believe that I can leave it better than I found it, and then I do the work required within my control to leave it better than I found it.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I see people. That's how I see our community. That's how I see the world. It's just like my view. You're
saying this sucks right now, but I think we could do this better.
I have faith. Yeah. I say to myself, not everything is going to be beautiful, but I have faith that it can be incrementally. That it can always be better. And that's how I see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I used to vibrate much lower when I was a kid, much more negatively, even as like a young adult. But then once I realized like the power of hard work and like focusing on things in my control, and I can actually leave things and people better than I found them, then I was like, wait, there's something to this. Like, I need to know how shitty it can be, but I also know that I can shine the turd, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I shine that turd, So,
we got to be a pretty hard person not to see the beautiful positivity when you see your child. Because, man, when I see my girls, like, playing around and laughing, I'm like, how is this not? Yeah. There's beauty here.
Yeah.
And I say that because I think I was pretty bad pessimist for a long, long time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's taken me a little bit to, like, of practice to look at them and be like, dude, there's so much good here.
Yeah.
Like, you can paint this world as dark as you want.
Yeah.
But there's so much good right here.
Yes. And if that, you have faith in, not just your higher power, but the process, that if there's good right here in this moment, there's no reason that good can't cascade.
Right.
And, make its way to other moments and make its way to other people, families, communities, countries, worlds, Right. But you gotta be up front. You gotta know conditions on the ground, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. You gotta know the conditions on the ground. So that whole positive realism thing is something I've tried to embrace. Yep. But you hit the nail on the head. It's practice.
It is.
As everything is. Rules are the few. You gotta practice.
Yep.
It's a practice, Yeah. Yeah, so this hits on a lot of, I thank you for bringing this into my hemisphere. Yeah, I'm sure I collectively with you thank Ryan Holiday for bringing it into my hemisphere. And I'm also, one thing I didn't do, just because the less I do, I'm in my do less better phase, right? But I would actually like to explore like some of her other writings.
Yeah, me too. I haven't done that yet.
And see what's going on. So maybe she has some books and things like that.
She does. She's got a couple books out there, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to explore.
I have not explored them. But I am curious to see what the community comes up with on this. I'm very curious.
Yeah, I am too. So what I would ask the few to do is leave a comment, on YouTube with your thoughts. Also go to your show, the Daughter Podcast on YouTube. Leave some thoughts there too, right? And then maybe we can even get a little conversation going. I think you actually did post something in Rise, right? Did you post something, Raj, for this episode?
I might have.
I think so. Yeah, I think you
said.
If
not, I'll go in there and throw it in there and see if we can get it going.
If you're not on all the interwebs, if you're not on the YouTubes and the Instagrams and stuff, send me an email, joey@fuelhunt.com, and I'll share them with you, or I'll loop you into the email.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'll loop you into the email so we can have a conversation.
I'm very curious.
We may have stumbled upon something. Maybe we're going to do like a poetry corner.
Oh.
Dane's laughing.
I'm not a poet, but
we'll do poetry corner, man.
Right.
We'll read some things and react to it. Drew's holding down the fort. He's not here today, so Drew, I'm signing us up for Poetry Corner. I don't know how you feel about this. everybody's going to write in. They're going to be like, terrible idea, terrible idea. No, I got a lot out of this, man. And I love introspection. Like, I just love going, like, deep and dark into, like, the crevices of myself to kind of audit myself, you know, where I am, where I've been, where I could be in the future. And this poem helped me do that. So thank you for bringing it into
That's good.
to my hemisphere, man. Why don't you, since we kind of rushed into this because I was excited about the poem, why don't you let the community again, if they haven't listened to the first 2 episodes that we've done together, why don't you just let the community know again where to find you and where to find the Daughtered podcast?
Yeah, man. Oscar Peña, obviously, the growing girl dad is what I call myself because that's what we're trying to do. So you can find me on Instagram at @A_growing girl dad. You could also find the Daughter Podcast on Instagram at Daughtered Podcast. And then you can find all of that on daughteredpodcast.com. Cool. Again, not but daughterpodcast.com. And we'll have everything's in there. There's also something I like to put out there. We have a shout out a dad on there. You know dudes. I know dudes that are just killing it. Some of them that I know are single dads, like just killing it. And I'm like, I don't even know how that guy does it. You know what I mean? So I have a section on the website where you can go on there, give us a little bit of the story. Man, I just want to start shouting these dudes out because sometimes, man, we need little flowers thrown our way. You know what I mean? Especially if you're struggling and you're trying to hunt throughout your life. So we have a section on there that I'd like to start utilizing to shout out people. I
love that, man. I love that. I agree with you, man. We get our flowers way too late. We get them at our funeral, man.
Yeah, right.
You know, and it's just way too late. A lot of the times, our standards, especially the few, right? Our standards are so high. We tend to like overlook the progress that we're making and not really celebrate it.
Absolutely.
And I know for me and, you know, the team on our journey, our Fuel Hunt journey, you know, building the community and the company, that's something that I didn't do well in the very beginning, you know. So what a brilliant and beautiful idea. So definitely hit daughteredpodcast.com.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know a dad that deserves some recognition and some admiration and some flowers. Submit the form. It's a form, right?
It's just a little form. Cool. It'll give us some information. I'm trying to get to the point where we can send them a shirt.
Nice.
Because that's really what I'd like to do is, you know, we're going to shout them out on the episodes and then send them a little something. But so I'm getting that some people are a little weird about sending their addresses to people, so I completely understand that.
This day and age, it's a thing.
But I promise you, I won't use it for anything other than to send a shirt and some stickers. So if you feel inclined and you send me an address, I'll get them a shirt.
Get them a shirt. Cool, man. Cool. I appreciate this, man. I appreciate the opportunity. I gave you some flowers, I think, on the last episode.
Yeah, man. Too many.
No, I'll do it again, man. I appreciate your belief in us and also you being such an advocate for the few. You know, when you're in the gym or when you're on base or wherever you are, just, you know, living the rules of the few and being such an amazing steward of our mission to restore the dignity of hard work. Eternally grateful, man.
We got to grow the community, man.
Eternally grateful.
This is what's going to change the world, I'm telling you.
Exactly, man. Growing the few to change the world. That's what it is. All right, I'm going to leave the few with a reminder. Always choose hard work over handouts. Always choose effort over entitlement. Remember, no one owns you. No one owes you. You're one of the few. Now let's hunt.